Hello there and welcome to the video. Have you ever taken an image that you first thought looked terrible? But as time marches on, your perception changes. And you actually start liking that image. If only I could change that tiny little thing in the image. A sensible modern 21st century man might just employ some AI or do some photoshopping. Others, like myself, will like to travel 50 kilometers to retake one image. Yes, it's time. It's time for my spring trip of 2024. I'm returning to the land of cliff on the west coast of Sweden. Enjoy. Today hasn't quite gone to plan. First, the drive here took longer than expected. Instead of 5 hours, it took like 6-7 hours due to some road work on the freeway, highway, or autostrada, whatever you like to call it. And then I have set out to retake this image I took last year at this place. Image I'm quite pleased with, but the composition was slightly off, and it's been bugging me ever since, so much that I drove here again this year. But I underestimated how far the location was from the car park. And the sun is starting to set. So I kind of gave up on that image for today. Instead, I started looking for new images. And I found one. I found these like flowers against these rocks here in the background. Looks good to the naked eye. However, as always, I'm quite doubtful. And it leads us to the next mistake. I set up this composition for 4x5. Has quite a nice flow with the rocks and the flowers like in the bottom left third. However, I packed Retropan, Fomapan and Delta for this trip. And I accidentally left the film holders with Fomapan in the cabin, and I have only Retropan and Delta with me. And I'm not sure this composition or this image will work on Retropan. I don't think that's the best film for this scene. So I took the image on Delta, but that will be a slight crop because that film is on 9x12. I did take it on Fomapan, Retropan as well. So we'll see when we have the film developed, as always. I'm going to start looping back, heading back to the car before it gets dark. And we'll try again tomorrow, and hopefully we'll make that image I've set out and drove here for 7 hours to take. We made it. I found the scene I was looking for last night. I had picked the wrong car park last night. Kind of a silly mistake. From the correct car park, it is like a 5-minute walk. It is this lovely scene here of this building that lies among the cliffs. Image I suspect have been taken 1,000,000 times and 2 over. And still, I wanted to retake this image, and I drove about 6.5 hours to take this one image. I have taken a couple of others, but this was the main purpose of returning to this place. Let me explain. So last year I was here, I had 2 big problems. Firstly, it was like my first proper landscape photography trip doing YouTube, or perhaps my second, but my first with the large format. And that kind of stressed me out. I made a couple of mistakes due to that. Secondly, I was still fairly new to large format back then, and I do still consider myself fairly new to large format still, but I have gotten better at it, especially on composing. As last year, I did take quite a few images that I'm fairly pleased with, but the composition is slightly off on quite a few of them. Among others, this image of these buildings here. The general image I thought looked really good. But you see, there's 3 buildings down there, and the balance between those buildings was slightly off. And it has been bugging me ever since, so much that I had to return here and try one more time. Hopefully, I've succeeded this time. But as we are here, I'm going to try and find a secondary composition of these buildings. And I do have a couple of other subjects in mind over there that we'll try and make a couple of images of as well. So I'm not quite done with the photography quite yet. Second image, same subject, different composition. And I'm quite pleased with the composition, or the idea behind the composition. You see, we have like these wavy rocks as the foreground element, and some bushes and trees and whatnot. Then we have this lovely little S-curve in the water there. However, it is quite dry, so there's like banks are showing, which I don't like. Not much I can do about that though. And then we have like the main subject as the background element, these buildings. However, I'm struggling with the balance among those. I'm not sure I got it right. The best I could do on this day. And I did a mistake. I wanted to photograph this on Retropan because I thought that would suit this scene quite well. I did that at the last composition as well. However, as I took the image, the wind picked up. And there is some trees and bushes in this scene, so those will be quite blurry. So I'm just waiting for the wind to die down, and I'll take another exposure of this scene on Fomapan 100. The first image, that was Retropan 320, 1/25th of a second at f22, and this will be f22 at 1/10th of a second. So I found an image. I actually found it earlier today. I was out scouting, taking a ton of images with my digital camera, snapshots just to kind of remember the different spots. And the point of that was to find that spot we were at earlier to photograph the buildings, as that was the main purpose of this trip. But on that little scouting, I also spotted these like old military relics. And I thought, I want to make an image on the large format of those. However, they are almost exact same colors as the surroundings, almost like that was the point of them. But the rocks or the cliffs here are really smooth and flowy. And those structures are really rectangular and straight corners. And with the help of the setting sun, like giving deeper shadows, giving stronger shapes, it might just work. But it is a really delicate image. So we'll see. There's actually one more image I'm going to attempt to photograph tonight before the sun sets completely. Right next to me there's an old bunker, I think it is. I'm just going to take a fast, large format photograph of that, just to finish off the last sheet of Fomapan. We'll see if that works. A bit hectic, that one. I don't like to rush my images, especially not when I'm shooting large format. But I actually ended up with a composition I'm quite pleased with. It's quite simple. I have this like old bunker, whatever it is, and sitting among the rocks, a nice little frame with the rocks there. But as the cherry on top, in the background, we have those buildings I tried to capture earlier today, and the sole purpose for this trip. So I'm quite pleased, and I hope the image works when it's developed as well. And with that, it's time to call it, head back to the car and the cabin for a good night's sleep. We were at least lucky with the weather. All in all, quite a pleasant trip. I do slightly regret not staying longer. But I did manage to take 7 large format images. Not bad at all. And the big question, did I succeed in improving on last year's image of the buildings among the cliffs there? Well, I made 2 attempts. And the first one is my favorite, my current favorite. It's very detail rich, it has a nice little flow to it, and the balance between the buildings, the big issue on last year's image, is improved. It's almost good. The sky might be a tad hot, but it was a hot day, so I am okay with that. The second attempt is also a very detail rich image. I do really like that little S-curve in the water there. It worked out better than expected. And all in all, quite a pleasant image. I do think I need to live with both of these images for a while, as perception has a tendency to change over time. And I might just need to get my darkroom up and running again, because I do feel like these images need to be seen large and on paper to be fully appreciated. The final image of the video, that one of the bunker with the buildings in the background that I loved out in the field, turned out to be quite a boring image in my mind. Even though the composition is quite good and it's technically sound, it's just a bit boring as a photograph. Instead, my favorite 2 images are these 2. One you have already seen, the one of the flowers there. And I just love the roots down to the left and the flow of this image. I'm more than a decent photograph. But my favorite image of this trip is one I didn't film. It's this wide-angle shot of the smooth rocks. Cropped to 6x10, it's a calm, minimalistic image that I really like. We'll see if my perception changes with time, as it often do. Overall, I consider this a successful trip. It might just turn into an annual thing, like the wannabe Ben Horn I am. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.